for our friends at home. So lesson 13. Yeah, so we start on page 63, but there's no example there. So this lesson is about problems about comparing in elapsed time. So problems about comparing. I'm going to read this part right here. So some math stories are about comparing the size of two groups. They usually ask questions about how many more are in the first group and how many fewer are in the second group. Comparison problems, such as these, have a subtraction pattern. We write the numbers in the equation in this order. So this is where we do the larger minus the smaller equals our difference. I'm just going to put diff to shorten it for difference. That equals our difference. So whenever we do any problem that asks for the difference, that's when we're doing subtraction. All right. So we'll go on to page 64, and that's where we have our first example. Page 64 has our first example. So example number one, I have, there were 324 girls. So I'm going to write 324 girls and 289 boys in the contest. 289 boys. How many fewer boys than girls were there in the contest? Talon, how do I do this? I subtract them, yep. So, Talon, would you like to come up and do this one? Bring up your mask and let's get this solved. So 35 what? Yep. So 35 fewer boys means there's 35 more girls. Good. 35 fewer boys. Thank you, Talon. So that is what we're doing with those problems, with word problems where we're finding the difference. Then we have elapsed time problems. So elapsed time is the length of time between two events. We illustrate this on the ray below. Why is it a ray, not a line segment, or just not a line in general? Why do I use a ray like this? Yeah, Brady? So I said we're on page 64. We're on page 64. So it says elapsed time problems.
Oh, yeah.
You see that? So yeah. So we have elapsed time problems. So we have an earlier date, which is right here. Earlier date. Earlier date. So let's say I was born in 1995. So 1995. And the later date. So the later date is going to be down here. Later date. So we are in 2020. We love you 2020. Sarcasm. We do not love you 2020. 2020 is the worst. Yep. Okay, so the difference between the later date and the earlier date is going to be called your elapsed time. Yeah, elapsed time. Okay, so you will take today's date or whatever you're solving for, so 2020 minus when I was born, 1995. So how old am I? Yeah, Brady? So I gotta borrow. I am 25. So 5 here, 2 here, those cancel, I am 25 years old.
I was going to say, so it's September 25.
Yeah.
You were 25. So
Me? No, my birthday's in February. Yep, so I'll be 26 in February. Okay, so that is elapsed time problems. So let's try one of those examples, kind of like the example I gave just now. So example 2. Example 2, how many years were there from 1492 to 1620? Okay, so how would I figure this out, Grace? How many years were there in between? Yep, so it's just a subtraction problem. I'm taking the bigger number minus the smaller number. In this case, the larger date minus the smaller date. So, Grace, would you like to come up here and try this subtraction problem? You use the rubber end.
That looks like 3.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Good. So there are 128 years. So make sure you guys remember your units when you're writing stuff down like this. On some of your guys' homeworks, make sure you have those years, or else even if you get the problem wrong, or even if you get the problem right, I will still take off half of your points just because you're missing half the problem. Because I don't know if this is years, I don't know if this is 128 monkeys, 128 pounds. I want to know what I'm dealing with here. So make sure you always have your units, okay? Make sure they're the correct units. Okay, so that's example 2 and my little rant about how important units are. Okay, example 3. Example 3, and this is about halfway down on page 65, if you're wondering where I'm at. Halfway down on page 65. So example 3, Abraham Lincoln was born in 1809. Abe Lincoln was born in 1809 and he died in 1865. So how many years did Mr. Abe Lincoln live? Brady, can you tell me what I'm doing here? Good. So 1865 minus 1809. And Brady, can you come up and try this one on the board for me? Please. Rubber side, please.
Oh, this was one same shirt. Well, it's color anyways.
We're both red, yep.
Yeah.
Does that to me all the time too.
No, it's year. No.
I know, it's not annoying.
I just write little dash. No. No.
It's right next to the
Yeah, I was trying to make a dash though.
Oh, so 56 years.
It's a dot now
Right.
instead of a dash.
That's okay. I can take it. We know what you mean. Thank you, Brady. So 56 years. So Mr. Abe Lincoln lived for 56 years, which that's not terrible for that time. Huh? Yeah, that means he was 56 years old. Yep. But that was about, and that was a little earlier than normal, but people weren't living as long as they are nowadays. People are living for a really long time nowadays. Yeah, because of modern medicine and just everything becoming more and more advanced. Yep, thank you. I was missing out on that word. Okay, guys, so that's all we have for your lesson. So you guys only have 2 letters today. So you're on page 66 is your homework, page 66, A through B. And then you are going to do the odds, 1 through 25 odd. So again, about 15 problems. And that will be your homework. Yes, Brady?
I have questions on 2 problems.
Got questions on a couple? Okay. Let me come assist you then. How are you doing, Johnny? Are you doing okay so far?
Yep.